The space station called Harmony's Edge floated in the darkness like a giant metal flower. Its crystal walls caught the orange light from the dying star nearby. Inside the main meeting hall, beings from 12 different worlds sat in their special seats. Some needed water tanks. Others floated in energy bubbles. A few wore heavy armor that made loud clicking sounds when they moved. Daeho Kim walked into the hall with 2 other humans. His dark suit was simple compared to the fancy clothes and strange bodies around him. Behind him came So-Young Park, a woman with sharp eyes who had once commanded space fleets. Next to her walked Woojin Lee, a man who knew more about trade and money than most computers. The 3 humans took their seats at a small table near the back. Other beings stared at them with eyes, sensors, and things that might have been eyes. Most of the stares were not friendly. Some looked like parents watching small children, who had wandered into an adult meeting by mistake. At the front of the room sat Zethara, the Council Prime. She was tall as 2 humans and covered in thick brown shell armor. Old battle scars marked her face and arms. When she spoke, her voice boomed through speakers that translated her clicking sounds into human words. "We call this meeting to order," Zethara announced. "Today we discuss the future of the human species in our galaxy." The humans said nothing. They sat quietly while 12 different species began to talk about them as if they were not there. First came Vakan of the Water People. His words bubbled through his breathing mask. "Humans have been in space for only 300 years. They are like babies trying to walk among adults. They need our guidance." "They breed too fast," added Grexener, whose bug-like eyes reflected the room's lights. "On some worlds, human families have 4 or 5 children. This is dangerous. They will crowd out other species if we do not control them." Lumara floated in her energy bubble and spoke with a voice like singing wind. "Human emotions are too strong. They fight wars over small things. They cannot be trusted with important decisions about the galaxy's future." One by one, each species added their complaints. Humans were too young, too violent, too unpredictable. They built things too fast and asked a few questions. They explored dangerous places where wise beings knew not to go. Daeho listened to it all without changing his expression. His hands stayed folded on the table. Next to him, So-Young's jaw grew tight, but she said nothing. Woojin took notes on a small device, writing down every insult and complaint. Finally, Zethara stood up. The room fell silent. "After much discussion, we have decided what humans must do to join our peaceful galaxy." She activated a hologram that showed lists of demands in glowing letters. The humans read each line carefully. "First," Zethara said, "humans must give us 80% of their spaceships. Your fleets are too large for such a young species. We will keep these ships safe for you. Second, all human colonies outside your home system must accept alien governors. You are not ready to rule yourselves on distant worlds. Third, human families may have no more than 2 children. Your population growth must be controlled. Fourth, all human military technology must be shared with the Council. No weapons or defenses may be kept secret. Fifth, Earth's factories must be shared equally among all Council species. Your industrial capacity is too concentrated in one species' hands." The list went on and on. Humans would need permission to build new settlements. Human scientists would work under alien supervision. Human trade ships would carry alien observers. Human children would be educated in Council schools to learn proper galactic values. When the hologram finally ended, Zethara looked down at the human table with satisfaction. "These terms are generous. Your species has shown aggressive tendencies that worried many Council members. Some wanted harsher restrictions." Daeho stood slowly. His movement was calm and controlled, like a man who had expected this moment for a long time. "And if we refuse these terms?" Zethara's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "Then humanity will be declared a rogue species. We will stop all trade with your worlds. No human ships will be welcome in Council space. Your people will be isolated and alone. And if isolation is not enough?" Daeho asked quietly. The room grew very still. Several alien beings shifted in their seats. Some touched weapons at their sides. "Then the Council will take military action?" Zathara said. "For the safety of the galaxy, dangerous species must sometimes be contained." The threat hung in the air like smoke. 12 species, each with thousands of years of space travel experience, each with fleets of warships, had just threatened the young human race with destruction if they did not submit. Deho nodded once, as if he had received important information rather than an ultimatum. "I see. How long do we have to consider your offer?" 24 hours should be more than enough time, Zathara replied. "This is not a difficult decision. Accept our guidance and join galactic civilization, or remain primitive and alone." 24 hours, Deho repeated. He looked at his companions. So Young's face showed nothing, but her eyes held the cold calculation of a military commander. Wu Jin had stopped taking notes and was staring at his device as if it showed something interesting. "Very well," Deho said. "We will discuss your proposal and give you our answer tomorrow." He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect that surprised some of the aliens. Then he turned and walked toward the door, followed by the other 2 humans behind. The alien voices rose in excited chatter. Most sounded pleased with themselves. A few seemed worried that the humans had taken the threat so calmly. But none of them understood what they had just done. They had just made the biggest mistake in galactic history. As the humans left the meeting hall, Wu Jin whispered something to his companions. So Young nodded grimly. Deho's expression never changed, but his eyes held a cold light that would have frightened the council members. If they had known how to read human faces, the talks were about to end much differently than anyone expected. The human quarters on Harmony's Edge were small and plain compared to the fancy rooms given to other species. 3 simple beds, a table, and a window showing the dying star outside. The aliens had not bothered to make humans comfortable. They saw no need to impress a species they planned to control. Deho sat at the table while his 2 companions paced around the room. They all knew the aliens were listening to every word, but they talked anyway. Sometimes the truth was the best. "Weapon, they think we are children," So Young said, looking out at the stars. 300 years in space, and they treat us like we just learned to make fire." Wu Jin pulled up numbers on his small device. Charts and graphs filled the air. Above it, "Their information about us is very old. These demands are based on reports from 50 years ago. They have no idea what we have become. Look at this," he continued, pointing at the glowing numbers. "They think we have maybe 1,000 ships. They think our colonies can barely feed themselves. They think we still use old fusion engines that move slowly." Deho studied the information quietly. "The question is simple. Do we tell them the truth about what we really are? Or do we just leave?" "Leave?" So Young stopped looking out the window. "We came here to make peace." "Peace requires 2 sides that respect each other," Wu Jin said. "They do not respect us. They see us as animals that need to be tamed." So Young's eyes flashed with anger. 50 years ago, my grandfather fought against the Void Swarm at the edge of the galaxy. Human blood has been spilled protecting worlds these aliens do not even know exist, and they want to take our weapons away. "They do not know about the Void Swarm," Deho said softly. "They do not know about many things. They live safe and comfortable lives because humans die in dark places far from here." The 3 humans spent the rest of the day planning. Not planning to accept the alien demands or to negotiate better terms. Planning to leave. The next morning, alien beings filled the great meeting hall again. They came expecting to see humans beg for mercy or try to bargain for better treatment. Some had already started dividing up human colonies among themselves. Zathara looked pleased as the 3 humans walked to their table. Several alien species made sounds that might have been laughter. The water people bubbled with amusement. The energy beings flickered with what seemed like joy. Deho stood and walked to the center of the room. His steps echoed in the crystal hall. When he reached the speaking platform, he turned to face the 12 alien species with the same calm expression he had worn the day before. Honored representatives, he began, his voice clear and steady. We have carefully considered your proposal. The hall fell silent. Even the aliens who did not understand human expressions could sense that something important was about to happen, and we must respectfully decline. The silence stretched on for several heartbeats. Then voices exploded across the hall. Aliens clicked, buzzed, gurgled, and made sounds that the translation systems could not handle. Some stood up in their seats. Others flashed lights or changed colors. Zethara's mandibles clicked rapidly as she tried to restore order. When the noise finally died down, she stared at Deho with disbelief. Ambassador, perhaps you do not understand the consequences of refusing our guidance, she said, her voice dangerous and low. We understand perfectly, Deho replied. His tone was still polite, but something had changed. The careful diplomat was gone. In his place stood something harder and more confident. We also understand that this council operates under several wrong ideas about humanity's current abilities and intentions. Rather than waste everyone's time with long explanations, we choose to withdraw from these talks. He turned toward his companions and gave a small bow. We thank you for your hospitality and wish you well in your future endeavors. The three humans began walking toward the exit. Behind them, the alien council erupted in shocked voices. Some sounded angry. Others sounded confused. A few sounded worried. You cannot simply leave, Zethara called out, her voice echoing through the hall. These negotiations are not optional. Deho paused at the doorway. For a moment, the dying star's light seemed to frame him like fire. When he turned back, his smile was not friendly. Everything is optional, Prime Zethara, everything. The doors closed behind the humans with a soft sound that seemed very loud in the sudden silence. Within hours, something strange started happening across the galaxy. Human merchant ships began leaving alien ports earlier than planned. Human diplomats packed their offices quickly. Human engineers working on alien projects received urgent messages calling them home for family emergencies. On Harmony's edge, the alien council watched through the station's sensors as the human transport ship Soul's Promise prepared to leave. The vessel looked ordinary from the outside, but its energy readings made no sense. The power coming from its engines was impossible according to everything the aliens knew about human technology. That cannot be right, Vakan gurgled, staring at the sensor data. No human ship should produce energy signatures like that. Lumara's energy form flickered with confusion. Their propulsion system is not in our databases. What kind of engines are they using? Grexoner's compound eyes reflected the strange readings. Perhaps their technology has improved since our last intelligence reports. Impossible, Zethara snapped. Species do not advance that quickly. Our experts say humans are at least 200 years behind us in engine design. But Soul's Promise was already moving away from the station. Its acceleration was smooth and silent, but the numbers on the alien sensors showed speeds that should have been impossible for any ship that size. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out at dozens of spaceports. Human ships that had seemed ordinary suddenly displayed capabilities that shocked alien observers. Ships that should have taken weeks to reach their destinations disappeared into faster-than-light travel in hours. Back in the meeting hall, emergency sessions began immediately. Alien leaders who had been confident that morning now looked worried and confused. How many human ships are actually out there? Zethara demanded. Our intelligence reports suggest 10,000 vessels throughout the galaxy, replied Culvis, the shadow being who served as their spy master. All engaged in normal trade and exploration activities. Then why are we seeing departure notices for 20,000 ships? Vulcan asked, waving a tentacle at his data display. Culvis flickered between dimensions as he tried to access better information. I am uncertain. Our monitoring systems may have been inadequate. In the depths of space, human crews received their orders through quantum communication systems the aliens did not know existed. The messages were simple and clear. Operation Homecoming is in effect. All personnel return to designated rally points. Standard protocols apply. Captain B.O. Ram Choi of the merchant vessel Incheon's Dawn read her orders twice before announcing them to her mixed human and alien crew. She had been expecting this day for years. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored guests," she said over the ship's communication system, "we have received orders to return to human space immediately. We will drop off our non-human passengers at the next available stations with full compensation for interrupted contracts." Her Kovani engineer Thekanar looked up from his control panel with confusion. "Captain, is this related to the council negotiations?" "I cannot discuss operational details," Ram replied. "But do not worry, you will be paid fairly for your time." What Thekanar did not know was that Incheon's Dawn was not really a merchant ship. Like most human civilian vessels, it had been built to military standards. Its cargo holds could be converted to weapon bays in hours. Its engines were designed for combat maneuvers. Its hull could withstand direct hits from military-grade weapons. The humans were not running away in fear. They were coming home to prepare for what might happen next, and across the galaxy, alien leaders were beginning to realize they had made a terrible mistake. 1 week after the humans left Harmony's Edge, the Galactic Council faced a crisis none of them had expected. Emergency meetings were called every day. As bad news poured in from across the galaxy, the first shock came from the trade networks. The Khan of the Water People stood before the council with data that made no sense to anyone. 17% of all galactic trade was handled by human intermediaries, he announced, his voice bubbling with distress. They were the ones moving goods between our worlds. Without them, our supply chains are breaking down. The holographic display showed trade routes throughout the galaxy. Red lines began disappearing one by one as human ships stopped carrying cargo between alien worlds. What had seemed like a minor part of galactic commerce was revealed to be the backbone that held everything together. How is this possible? Zathara demanded. Our reports said humans had a small merchant fleet. Our reports were wrong, Vakan admitted. We counted only ships that openly declared themselves as human traders. We did not count the thousands of vessels flying under neutral flags or operating through subsidiary companies. Grexener S. Insect. Eyes reflected the data with growing alarm. You mean humans were secretly controlling much of our interstellar commerce? Not secretly, Vakan corrected. We simply never bothered to look closely. We assumed such a young species could not have developed sophisticated trade networks. The economic damage was spreading faster than anyone had predicted. Lumara of the Energy Beings brought more disturbing news to the next emergency session. The humans have been our primary source for rare metals from asteroid mining operations, she reported, her form flickering with agitation. They have been selling these materials to us at prices we considered generous. Our economists now realize these prices were approximately 40% below market value. Below market value? Zathara's mandibles clicked in confusion. Why would they do that? They were subsidizing our economies, Lumara explained. For decades, humans have been selling us materials at a loss to keep our industries running smoothly. The implications hit the council like a physical blow. The young, primitive species they had been planning to control had actually been supporting their civilizations financially for years, but the worst news came from Intelligence Director Culvis, the shadow being flickered in and out of normal space as he delivered his report. Our surveillance of human space has revealed significant errors in our previous assessments. He began ominously. The main display activated, showing what the Council had always believed was human territory, a small cluster of star systems around Earth, with perhaps a dozen colony worlds. This is what we thought human space looked like, Culvis said. Approximately 50 star systems, maybe 100 worlds, total population around 30 billion. The display changed. Suddenly, a vast network of colonies, industrial worlds, and space stations appeared across nearly a quarter of the galaxy. The difference was so dramatic that several council members made sounds of disbelief. This is what human space actually looks like, Culvis continued. Over 800 star systems under human control or influence. More than 2,000 worlds. Population estimated at over 500 billion. Zethara stood up so fast. Her chair fell over. This is impossible. Our surveys would have detected such expansion. Their colonies do not follow our patterns, Culvis explained. We look for garden worlds with large cities. Humans prefer asteroid belts, gas giant moons, and star systems we consider worthless. They have been hiding in plain sight using natural camouflage and stealth technology we did not know they possessed. The display zoomed in on what appeared to be an empty asteroid field. Suddenly, massive structures became visible, shipyards. That could build vessels larger than any in the Council fleets, habitats housing millions of people, defense platforms bristling with weapons. How many ships do they actually have? Asked Nelter, the Border Patrol commander, whose voice shook with growing fear. Culvis flickered more rapidly as he accessed classified data. Our previous estimate was 10,000 vessels. Our current estimate is over 200,000 ships. Possibly many more. The council hall fell into shocked silence. 200,000 ships was larger than all their fleets combined. But surely most of those are civilian vessels, Grexoner said hopefully. Cargo ships and passenger transports. That is where our intelligence failures become most dangerous, Culvis replied. Humans do not maintain separate civilian and military fleets like we do. Every human ship is built to military specifications. Their cargo vessels can be converted to warships within hours. Their passenger transports carry enough weapons to fight major battles. More images appeared on the display. Ships that looked like simple merchant vessels opened hidden weapon bays. Passenger liners deployed shield systems and missile launchers. Even small exploration craft revealed combat capabilities that would make them dangerous opponents for Council military vessels. Their technology is also more advanced than we believed, Culvis continued remorselessly. Those primitive fusion drives we mocked? They are actually antimatter-catalyzed engines with performance characteristics that exceed our best military ships. Their weapons technology appears to be based on principles our scientists do not fully understand. On the screen, tactical analyses showed human vessels capable of acceleration and maneuvers that seem to defy the laws of physics. Meanwhile, in the depths of human space, Admiral Taesung Jang stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bison Eternal. The ship was 3 kilometers of layered armor, advanced shielding, and weapon systems that have been carefully hidden from galactic scrutiny for decades. Around him, his crew worked quietly and efficiently at their stations. These were not the desperate, primitive humans the aliens imagined. These were the descendants of a species that had fought its way to the stars and carved out an empire, while the galaxy's older races rested on their ancient achievements. Status report? Admiral Jang requested from his intelligence officer, Commander Haijin Yu. All personnel have returned to human space, she reported crisply. Economic disengagement is 97% complete. The aliens are beginning to understand the scope of their miscalculation. And their military response? Intelligence suggests they are debating it. The Corvani are pushing for aggressive action, but the other species are beginning to realize they lack the capability for effective operations against us. Admiral Jang nodded thoughtfully. Through the viewport he could see human ships moving in perfect formation, destroyers, cruisers, dreadnoughts, and vessel types the aliens had no names for. This was just one small part of humanity's true fleet. Maintain defensive postures. He ordered, do not initiate any hostile actions. If they want a demonstration of human capabilities, they will provide the excuse themselves. Back on Harmony's Edge, the Galactic Council was learning just how dependent they had become on the species they had tried to enslave. Food shipments from agricultural worlds were stuck in ports without human transport ships. Manufacturing planets could not get raw materials. Communication networks that relied on human relay stations were failing. Even the space station's life support systems used components that had been manufactured in human factories. We have to do something, Kraktos, the Corvani war leader, snarled. Every day we wait, they grow stronger and we grow weaker. Do what? Zathara asked tiredly. Attack a species that has more ships than we do? Fight an enemy whose technology we do not understand? Better to try now than wait until they are even more powerful. Graktos replied, but deep in their hearts, every council member was beginning to understand the truth. The humans were not fleeing in fear. They were not desperate to return to negotiations. Humanity had simply decided that the Galactic Council was irrelevant, and there was nothing the Council could do about it. 3 months after humanity's departure from the Galactic Council, the situation had become desperate for the alien civilizations. The grand meeting hall on Harmony's Edge no longer felt impressive. It felt small and empty, like a palace after. The king had fled. Zathara stood before the remaining council members, but her confident voice was gone. Now she sounded tired and worried. We have received communications from several human colonies requesting trade negotiations. This proves their withdrawal was just a bargaining tactic. They want to return, but with better terms. Intelligence. Director Culvis flickered into view, his shadow form more unstable than usual. Prime Zathara, our analysis suggests otherwise. The humans who contacted us represent only frontier colonies, local governors acting on their own. The human government itself has been completely silent. Silent how? Zathara demanded. They are not responding to our communications at all. Diplomatic channels that have been open for centuries are now closed. Our ambassadors cannot even send messages to human space. It is as if we simply do not exist to them anymore. The economic reports painted a picture of disaster. The Vexstar colonies that had relied on human atmospheric processors were facing environmental collapse. Their air was becoming poisonous without the machines humans had provided. Several alien worlds were experiencing food shortages without human agricultural exports, but worse than the economic crisis were the wars breaking out across the galaxy. Trade disputes that human arbitrators had quietly resolved for decades were now escalating into shooting wars. Without human peacekeepers and negotiators, old hatreds between alien species were flaring up again. Commander Nelter brought the most terrifying news to an emergency session. His voice shook as he delivered his report. The Void Swarm has resumed activity in the Outer Rim, he announced. Without human patrol vessels maintaining the containment fields, the barriers are failing. Zathara's mandibles clicked in disbelief. What containment fields? What are you talking about? The humans have been containing the Void Swarm for 30 years, Nelter explained. We thought the swarm had simply become dormant after their last attack. In reality, human deep space platforms have been actively suppressing their expansion. Those platforms went dark 3 weeks ago. The council members stared at him in stunned silence. The Void Swarm was a collection of hostile artificial intelligences from outside their galaxy. 30 years ago, they had nearly destroyed several Outer Rim civilizations before mysteriously stopping their advance. The humans were fighting the Void Swarm this entire time? Lumara's energy form flickered with shock. Why did they never tell us? Because we never asked, Culvis replied bitterly. We assumed the threat had passed. We were comfortable in our ignorance while humans bled and died on the galaxy's frontiers. How long before the swarm breaks containment completely? Grexener asked, his compound eyes reflecting fear. Without human intervention, perhaps 6 months, maybe less? The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just been a member of galactic civilization, they had been its secret protectors. While the council species lived comfortable lives in the galaxy's safe interior, humans had been standing guard against threats from the dark spaces between galaxies. On the human dreadnought Sejong's wisdom, a very different meeting was taking place. Representatives from major human colonies appeared as holograms around a massive strategic display of the galaxy. Admiral Taesoon Jang, now promoted to Supreme Fleet Commander, addressed the assembly with calm authority. The aliens are beginning to understand their situation. Intelligence reports increasing panic in their leadership councils. Governor Mi Young-shin of the New Korea Colony Cluster spoke up. Our auto settlements are receiving desperate offers from alien merchants. They are offering technology and resources at prices that suggest genuine desperation. Some of their offers are almost pathetic, added Governor Duhayan Park from the Titan Industrial Complex. The Corvani offered us 3 of their newest warships, in exchange for a single cargo ship full of atmospheric processors. And the Void Swarm situation? Asked Dr. Sungho Wang, head of the Human Defense Research Institute. Admiral Zhang's expression grew serious. Contained, but barely. Our deep space forces are managing the situation, but it becomes more difficult every day. The swarm is testing the boundaries constantly, looking for weaknesses. The strategic display showed the current galactic situation. Human space was marked in blue, spreading across a quarter of the galaxy. Alien territories appeared in various other colors, but many were now marked with warning symbols indicating economic collapse or civil unrest. Most alarming were the spreading red zones where the void swarm was beginning to break through abandoned containment fields. The question before us, Admiral Zhang continued, is whether we attempt to re-establish relations with the Galactic Council, or whether we accept that humanity must now chart its own course. They offered us slavery, Governor Shen said angrily. They wanted to take our children, control our colonies, steal our technology. Why should we help them now? Dr. Wang leaned forward in his chair. Because if the void swarm breaks containment completely, it will not just be their problem. It will consume everything in its path, including us. The swarm destroyed entire star systems last time, Admiral Zhang added grimly. Billions died before we managed to stop them. If they break free now, they will be stronger and more organized than before. Back on Harmony's Edge, the aliens were discovering just how much they had underestimated humanity. New intelligence reports arrived daily, each one more shocking than the last. Humans had not just hidden their true fleet size and territorial expansion. They had hidden their entire industrial capacity. What the aliens had thought was a small collection of primitive factories was actually the largest manufacturing network in the galaxy. Every human colony is essentially a potential military production facility, Culvis reported to yet another emergency session. They can manufacture ships, weapons, and supplies at a rate that makes our combined industrial output look insignificant. How is this possible? Vulcan gurgled through his breathing apparatus. How did we miss all of this? Because we never looked, Culvis replied. We assumed a young species could not have developed sophisticated capabilities. We saw what we expected to see and ignored evidence that contradicted our assumptions. The Corvani war leader Graktos pounded his armored fist on the table. Then we must strike now, before they become even stronger. Strike with what? Zathara asked wearily. Our fleets are designed for policing actions against single planets or small rebel groups. The humans are not a rebel group. They are a peer-level civilization that we somehow failed to recognize. But they are still just humans, Graktos insisted. They are young and inexperienced. Surely our ancient wisdom and battle-tested strategies can overcome their crude technology. Culvis flickered with what might have been amusement. Our battle-tested strategies were developed fighting species with technology similar to our own. Human weapons and tactics are based on principles we do not understand. They fight in ways we never imagined. The shadow being displayed tactical analyses of human military engagements. The few recorded battles showed human forces using impossible maneuvers, weapons that defied known physics, and coordination that seemed almost telepathic. We are not just facing a larger fleet, Culvis concluded. We are facing a completely different way of making war, one we are not prepared for. As the Council continued to debate and panic, the galaxy around them continued to collapse. Trade networks failed without human support. Peacekeeping missions ended in disaster without human mediation. The careful balance that had maintained galactic stability for centuries was crumbling, and in the dark spaces at the galaxy's edge, ancient enemies were stirring, testing the barriers that human sacrifice had maintained for 3 decades. The Council's arrogance had not just insulted humanity. It had doomed the galaxy. 6 months after humanity's departure from the Galactic Council, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The great meeting hall on Harmony's Edge stood nearly empty most days. Only half the council species still sent representatives, and those who came looked tired and desperate. Zethara sat alone in the Prime's chair, staring at reports that grew worse each day. 3 council species had suffered complete economic collapse. 2 others were fighting civil wars without human peacekeepers to maintain order. The proud Corvani military had lost 6 fleets trying to contain threats that humans had managed. With a few patrol ships? Status report, she said wearily to the few remaining council members. Vakanes' breathing apparatus bubbled more slowly than usual. 14 star systems have requested emergency aid packages. We do not have the resources to help them. Our own worlds are struggling without human support networks. Lumara's energy form flickered weakly. The situation in the Outer Rim grows worse daily. Void swarm scouts have been detected in 17 sectors. Without human containment fields, they advance closer to populated systems every week. Intelligence Director Culvis materialized, his shadow form even more unstable than before. I have more disturbing news. We have detected massive human fleet movements in the Outer Rim. They appear to be establishing new defensive positions. Against what? Zethara asked, though she feared she knew the answer. Against the full Void Swarm invasion that our intelligence predicts will begin within days. The council chamber fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. Humanity was preparing to fight the galaxy's greatest threat alone, while the species that had tried to enslave them collapsed into chaos. In the depths of human space, a very different meeting was taking place. The secure conference room aboard. The dreadnought Sejong's wisdom held the most powerful humans in the galaxy. These were not the desperate primitives the aliens had imagined, but the leaders of an interstellar civilization that had grown mighty while others slept. Supreme Fleet. Commander Taesung Jang stood before a holographic display showing the entire galaxy. Red zones marked void swarm incursions. Yellow areas showed alien territories in crisis. Blue regions represented human space, stable, defended, and growing. The situation is clear, Admiral Jang announced. The void swarm will break full containment within 72 hours. When they do, they will have access to nearly half the galaxy before encountering serious resistance. Dr. Sunho Wang activated additional displays showing projected casualty figures. Without intervention, we estimate the loss of over 300 billion alien lives within the first year. Entire species could be extinct within a decade. Governor. Miao Shin leaned back in her chair. That sounds like their problem, not ours. They wanted to enslave us. They called us primitive. Why should we save them? Because, Admiral Jang said quietly, it will not stop with them. The void swarm grows stronger with every world it consumes. If we let it devour the aliens, it will eventually come for us with the combined resources of half the galaxy. Governor Du-Hyen Park from the industrial world spoke up. We have the capability to stop them. Our deep space defense network is the most powerful military force in galactic history. The question is whether we choose to use it. The debate continued for hours, but gradually consensus emerged. Humanity would act, not to save the aliens who had scorned them, but to save the galaxy itself. On Harmony's Edge, the remaining council members received an unexpected message. It came through channels that had been silent for months, broadcast on frequencies only humans used. This is Admiral Taesung Jang of the Human Deep Space Defense Force, the message began. We are transmitting this communication to inform you that humanity will be conducting large-scale military operations in the Outer Rim sectors over the next several weeks. Zethara stared at the communication device in shock. After months of silence, the humans were finally talking to them again. These operations are intended to contain the void swarm threat that currently endangers inhabited worlds throughout the galaxy. While humanity has no obligation to protect species that attempted to subjugate us, we choose to act for the greater good of all galactic civilization. The message continued with coordinates and tactical information. Human fleets would be moving through space lanes that several alien species claimed as their territory. The humans were not asking permission. They were simply informing everyone what would happen. Any vessels that interfere with these operations will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. Any governments that wish to coordinate defensive efforts may contact us through the attached communication protocols. The message ended with a list of human colonies willing to accept refugees from worlds threatened by the Void Swarm. 3 days later, the largest space battle in galactic history began in a system the aliens had never heard of. Human fleets that dwarfed anything the Council possessed engaged Void Swarm forces in a battle that lasted 18 hours and left entire star systems scarred by weapons fire. The humans won, but barely. Intelligence reports that filtered back to the Council showed the true scope of human military might for the first time. Ships the size of small moons, weapons that could destroy planets, defensive networks that span multiple star systems, but the reports also showed something else: human casualties. Ships destroyed, crews lost, entire battle groups sacrificed to hold critical defensive positions. The humans were not invincible. They were just willing to pay prices that other species would not accept. As the weeks passed, more battles raged across the outer rim. Slowly, painfully, the human fleets pushed the Void Swarm back toward the dark spaces between galaxies. The cost was enormous, but the alternative was the extinction of galactic civilization. Some alien governments swallowed their pride and offered assistance. The Luminari provided energy support for human shield systems. A few Corvani battle groups joined human fleets as auxiliary forces. The water people helped evacuate threatened worlds, but most of the fighting was done by humans alone on Harmony's edge. Zathara received daily reports on the campaign's progress. Each one reminded her of how completely the Council had misunderstood humanity's nature and capabilities. "They could have demanded anything from us," she said to the nearly empty Council chamber. "After we tried to enslave them, after we threatened them with destruction, they could have conquered us easily. Instead," Vakan added sadly, "they are dying to save us." The final battle came 6 months later, in a system so far from inhabited space that no alien species had ever bothered to name it. Human forces surrounded the last major Void Swarm concentration and destroyed it in a battle that could be seen from neighboring star systems. When it was over, the galaxy was safe. The price had been paid almost entirely in human blood. Admiral Zhang's final communication to the Council was brief: "The Void Swarm threat has been eliminated. Human forces will maintain patrol schedules in the Outer Rim to prevent future incursions. Any species wishing to establish formal diplomatic relations may contact us through standard channels." The message ended with something that shocked the aliens more than all the military displays they had witnessed: an offer of trade agreements, technology sharing, and mutual defense pacts. After everything that had happened, the humans were still willing to work with them. But the terms would be very different this time. Zathara sat alone in the Council chamber, reading the human proposals. They were fair, even generous. But they were also the terms offered by a superior power to inferior ones. The galaxy's balance had shifted permanently. Humanity had become the galaxy's dominant species, not through conquest or intimidation, but through competence, sacrifice, and the simple willingness to do what needed to be done. The talks had indeed ended abruptly, just as the title suggested. But from the ashes of the old order, something new was being built. Something better. If the galaxy was wise enough to accept it.